longer a safe place to live in. Crimes are found in every street, in every city, and in every country.
However, we still have the strength to change this world. We have the capabilities to ensure that justice will be served.
Therefore, we continue to strive for the truth. We are
the Abogados.
Welcome everyone to another episode of Serving Justice. I am Attorney Mabul.
I am Attorney Navarro.
And I am Attorney Verenilia.
So without any further ado, let's get our letter for today. Thank you. And it's from Ms. Keishel Bete. So, dear Abogados, ako po si Keishel Bete. Ang aking asawa po ay 3 taon nang nakakulong dahil inakusahan siya ng rape at murder. Subalit hindi pa siya nahahatulan ng guilty. Humihingi ako ng tulong sapagkat naniniwala akong inosente ang aking asawa at hindi makatarungan ang pagkakakulong sa kanya. Habang wala pang hatol at walang malakas na ebidensya laban sa kanya. Hindi lamang po yun. Noong gabing hinuli ang aking asawa, ay siya po'y walang awang dinakip, bigla at kinaladkad. At pagkatapos ng 1 linggo, noong panahong iyon, napag-alaman ko pong tinorture siya. Hanggang ngayon po ay naghihirap siya sa presinto sapagkat hindi rin po siya pinayagan na magpiyansa. Ang kaso po ay rape at murder sa 18 taong gulang na working student na pamangkin ng kanyang amo na si Mr. Kwong. Walang ebidensyang nagtuturo sa aking asawa, kundi ang salaysay lamang ni Mr. Kwong. Ayon sa kanya, huli niyang nakita ang aking asawa pumasok sa kwarto ng kanyang pamangking si Kathleen. Subalit may alibay po ang aking asawa. Sa oras na iyon, hindi siya po ay nagtulog sa kanyang kwarto sa labas ng bahay, pero walang makakapagsuporta sa kanyang alibay dahil wala pong ibang taong sa gabing iyon sa bahay nila, kundi si Mr. Kwong, si Kathleen at ang aking asawa. Nagtataka lang po kami kung bakit ang alibay ni Mr. Kwong ay nasa telepono lang siya magdamag, ay hindi kwinesyon at agad na inakusahan ng aking asawa pagbat walang sapat na ebidensya. Ano po ang aming gagawin? So, that was our letter for the day.
Yeah, and it's really an interesting
Yes.
case. So, now let us examine it closely. Some events pointed out in this letter by Mrs. Bete are certainly violations to Article 3 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, or the
Right.
Bill of Rights.
Okay, so the first violation is of Section 12. Section 12 states that any person under investigation for the commission of an offense shall have the right to be informed of his right to remain silent and to have competent and independent counsel, preferably of his own choice. If the person cannot afford the services of the counsel, he must be provided with one. These rights cannot be waived except in writing and in the presence of the counsel. No torture, force, violence, threat, intimidation, or any other means which vitiate the free will shall be used against him. Secret detention places, solitary, incommunicado, or other similar forms of detention are prohibited. Next, any confession or admission obtained in violation of this or Section 17 hereof shall be inadmissible in evidence against him. Fourth, the law shall provide for penal and civil sanctions for violations of this section, as well as compensation to the rehabilitation of victims of torture or similar practices and their families.
Yeah, that's right. And also this section has pointed out 3 rights of a person under investigation of commission of a crime. So the first one is the right to remain silent. The next is the right to competent and independent counsel. And the third is the right to be informed of such rights against torture, force, violence, threat, intimidation, or other means of that vitiate the free will. Right?
Yeah, and in the case of Mr. Bete, he was not informed of his rights, but instead he was dragged inhumanely and was even subjected to torture. These are clearly violations of this section, and whatever confession obtained should be inadmissible. Furthermore, there should be penal or civil sanctions given to the men who inflicted this violation to Mr. Bete.
Yes, that's right. And another violation is of Section 13, which states that all persons, except those charged with offenses punishable by reclusion perpetua when evidence of guilt is strong, shall be conviction, be bailable by sufficient sureties, or be released on recognizance as may be provided by law, The right to bail shall not be impaired, even when privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is suspended, and excessive bail shall not be required.
So yes, this section, section 13, talks about the right to bail. But what is the right to bail? It is the right given to a person accused of a crime to be free from detention upon the posting of cash or surety bond or upon recognizance of another.
So in the case of Mr. Bete, the offenses charged to him, which are rape and murder, are punishable by reclusion perpetua. However, evidence of guilt is poor. Therefore, his right to bail should have been given upon discretion of the court.
So this case not only violated sections 12 and 13, but also violated section 14 and
Yes.
16 of the Article 3 of the Philippine Constitution. And section 14 states that no person shall be held to answer for a criminal offense without due process of law. And in all criminal prosecutions, the accused shall be presumed innocent until the contrary is proved, shall enjoy the right to be heard by himself and counsel, to be informed of the nature and cause of the accusation against him, to have a speedy, impartial, and public trial, to meet the witnesses face to face, and to have compulsory process to secure the attendance of witnesses and the protection of evidence in his behalf. However, after arraignment, trial may proceed notwithstanding the absence of the accused, provided that he has been duly notified and his failure to appear is unjustifiable.
Okay, so we have discussed that the violations that were committed was not only with the section 12, 13,
13.
but also 14 and 16.
Yes.
So section 16 states that all persons shall have the right to a speedy disposition of their cases before all judicial, quasi-judicial, or all administrative bodies.
In the case of Mr. Bete, his right to have a speedy trial and disposition of the case was definitely violated, isn't it? And he has been in prison for 3 years now.
Yes.
Order in the court, all rise. The Honorable Mr. Justice Quarteros presiding.
You may be seated.
The case of Mr. Kwong versus Mr. Betty, Your Honor.
Thank you. Please rise to hear your charge.
Mr. Betty, you are charged that on or about the 3rd day of August in the year 2009, you did unlawfully commit rape and murder in the 1st degree of Miss Kathleen Kwong. How do you plead?
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen of the jury. I shall begin with some general comments on our roles during this trial. Throughout these proceedings, you shall act as judges of the facts, and I, the judge of the law. Although I may comment on the evidence as judge of the facts, you are the exclusive judges of the evidence. By the same token, when I tell you what the law is, it is my view of the law that must prevail. There are two basic principles that are fundamental to your part as jurors. They are the requirement of proof beyond a reasonable doubt and the presumption of innocence. The requirement for proof beyond a reasonable doubt means that no person accused of an offense can be found guilty unless the Crown proves each and every part or element of that offense beyond a reasonable doubt. Similarly, our system of law requires that an accused person be presumed innocent until proven guilty. Mr. Bete has no obligation to prove that he is not guilty or to explain the evidence offered by the Crown. The law presumes that he is innocent until you decide otherwise. Before calling the Crown Counsel to give their opening statement, I will tell you something of the offense with which Mr. Bete has been charged. Before you can legally return a guilty verdict on the allegations, the Crown must prove the following elements beyond a reasonable doubt. First, the identity of Mr. Bete as the offender. Second, the time and place of the offense. Third, that Mr. Bete killed Miss Kathleen Kwong. Fourth, that Mr. Bete commit rape on Miss Kathleen Kwong. And fifth, that Mr. Bete intended to kill and rape Miss Kathleen Kwong. I now call upon the Crown to proceed with their case.
Okay.
Your Honor, we intend to prove that Mr. Bete killed Ms. Kathleen Kwong and that he did so knowing that it was illegally contrary to the Criminal Code of the Philippines, therefore committing first-degree murder and rape. To prove our case, we intend to call the following witness, Mr. Ken Kwong, the uncle of Ms. Kathleen Kwong.
Do you swear that the evidence you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God?
Yes.
State your name and address of the court, please.
I am Ken Kong and I live in Kauswagan.
Do you swear that the evidence you shall give shall be the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth? So help you God? State your name and address for the court, please.
I am Tim Bete and I'm from Burgos.
Will the jury for person please stand? Has the jury reached a unanimous verdict?
No, Your Honor.
The jury has not reached a unanimous verdict, and thus this trial is declared a mistrial, and further hearings will be scheduled. Court is adjourned.
So definitely the sections 13, 12, 14, and 16 of Article 3 of the 1987 Philippine Constitution, or the Bill of Rights, have been violated by this case. If Section 15 was, which states the privilege of the writ habeas corpus shall not be suspended except in the cases of invasion or rebellion, when the public safety requires it, was also violated, and definitely this would have been the case of the month, isn't it?
Okay, for additional information on that section, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus is the right of a person who is detained by another to have his body brought to court, so that the court can inquire into and determine the legality of his detention and to order his immediate release if the court finds that there is no legal basis for such detention.
So this section that talks about the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus can be violated if the grounds for its suspension neither were met yet it was suspended. There are only two grounds. First is in the case of invasion or rebellion, and second, when public safety requires it. In the Philippines, the privilege of the writ of habeas corpus was suspended last 1971 after the Plaza Miranda bombing. And also, it was also suspended last December 2009 after the Maguindanao massacre.
And okay, so going back to the case of Mr. Bete, Mrs. Keisha Bete, we will be getting in touch with you after this.
And also, we shall see that the violators will be sanctioned accordingly.
And that her husband shall be given speedy disposition of his case, because here in the Abogados, we believe that justice delayed is justice denied.
So thank you for being with us today to another interesting episode.
And we shall see each other next week for another episode.
So, for more information, you could also visit us with our Twitter account. What's our Twitter account?
Twitter.com/theabogados.
And you can like our Facebook page, which is www.facebook.com/theabogad.
Also, you can contact us with the following numbers that is flashing on your screens right now. So, this has been
The Abogados!